Welcome everybody to episode 3 of Tales from the Tackle Shop, and we're at Tackle and Baits today in Piddly, something completely different. But before we get onto that, we need your help. Well, I need your help. Alex has kindly offered to help out, and I'm going to show you a short little clip here to see what it's all about. Guys, I need your help. This year I've been fortunate enough to be picked for the England Lure Boat Team. The World Championships are on the Loch Earn in Ireland, October the 4th to the 6th. And with all these things, with all these England teams, they're self-funding, it becomes very expensive. And if you can imagine being on boats as well, it gets compounded with big engines and fuel. So we are busy with initiatives this summer to raise some money. Now, Alex here has said he would help out. So I'm going to let him tell you the next part.
We've had some prizes donated by We'll Love You Simon himself, Mr. Willsmore. Lovely little, basically a Hydra come side-wide float set, Barnaby shock. Obviously the best float paint on the market, and some sight bristles. So that's going to be one prize. And then friends at Daiwa, Mr. Green has sent some ends-on goodies, some hook bait bag, little bait sieve, and double and hooking mat there. So that's another prize. And then what we've done from Tackle and Baits, obviously because Andy's such a nice fella, doesn't mention that he's fishing for the England boat team much. Is a product that is quite sort of specialised to the area, and that's a Tournament S 11'6" match rod. I mean, these retail for considerable amount of money, like $494.99 amount of money. I can, for £2 a ticket, is it Andy? £2 a ticket, this could be yours. So we're going to have all the tickets available in the shop. So next time you're in, it's only £2. It's going to a good cause. You could have a chance of winning a brand spanking new Tournament S match 11'6".
A huge thank you from myself to Alex, Daiwa UK and Simon Willsmore for supplying those prizes. That's incredibly kind of you guys. We're going to have a grid of 500 squares on, so it's £2 a square. If you'd like to buy a square and go into the tackle shop, or obviously more than one square, make sure you put your phone number or give your phone number to whoever you're buying the square off, so they can write it onto the grid so we can get in contact with you if you win. And also I'm going to set up a PayPal account. If you buy squares off the PayPal account, can you please send me a PM via my messenger? I will keep you on the messenger, and then obviously if you win I can contact you back directly. £2 guys, you could win top of the range rod. Obviously you want to contribute more than £2, that'd be fantastic. We're going to try and fill up the 500 squares, and we'll do the draw end of August, probably on one of the podcasts. If we can fill over more than 500, we're going to try and hit 1,000. So a bit of a target for everybody. So get involved, please contribute, and thanks for your help. The podcast isn't all about us, even though obviously Alex tries to make it all about him, particularly when he beats me with swing tip and quiver tip and cheating and bolt rigs and things like that. What did you say?
Candy from a baby.
So I have to get him trained with a mic now, so I'm getting slowly trained.
It's only taken 5 years.
So it's really important that you guys actually use the podcast as well. So it was really cool last week when I got a message from Elliot Newman. Now, obviously, his youngest son, Barnaby, fishes in the Winter League, and he has achieved something quite impressive over the last few weeks. But I think he's obviously been involved with this before. So Alex is going to take over.
Yeah, so I think, obviously, Barnaby and Josh, the older brother, Josh has done fantastically well. He's now fishing for Barnsley, which is the best team in the country, bar none. Fish for England as well, so credit to Elliot Newman. He's got both Josh through it now, and now Barnaby's coming through the ranks. Obviously he fishes in our local Winter League, and the Mark 1 boys have always been known for bringing good anglers through. Yep. You know, there's a lot of the younger anglers that are out there now have come through Mark 1 over the years and fish for England, so you've got to be credit to Mark 1 as well. Johnny Bates, and the sort of the team atmosphere is perfect for juniors to learn, so well done to those guys. Barnaby's obviously exceptionally young and exceptionally good angler. At the Gloucester Canal he did really well, won his section on one of the days against, you know, the elite fishing international style as well. He competes at wherever. I mean, I think it's credit to obviously everyone, and credit to the area as well, because the area is such a good fish catching area. It attracts, well, you can learn. If you're not catching fish, you can't learn, can you, exactly, at the end of the day. Yeah. So yeah, well done to Barnaby. Brilliant to see you sort of coming through the ranks and fishing a hard league. You know, it is crash bang wallop. It is aggressive fishing. So well done, and well done to your dad and your family as well for Josh and yourself.
Yeah, just to add, because Alex has missed off some little points here, but some little ones. Yeah, but Barnaby's in the under-15s.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
And they're fishing fishing in Serbia in the World Championships, and Josh would also be picked for the under-25s.
Yeah.
Sorry, that one will be held in Serbia. Have I read that wrong?
No, they're both Serbia. Yeah.
Are they? Yeah. So
middle of August.
cool.
Second week in August.
So yeah, I think big shout out for Dad for getting both boys through. But the boys are very talented. So
they are. Yeah, Josh is a bit good, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Barnaby.
Yeah. So guys, well done, and let us
taking him on this year in the Winter League. I never seem to draw in his section, to be fair.
What, Josh or Barnaby?
Well, not Josh, but Barnaby. No. No.
Yeah. So that's great. So, guys, send us in news and we will try and publish it, because that sort of thing needs pushing. It is fantastic. Right, just to finish off, Alex, hold the mic.
Ba-ding.
I've got a prop. This is revenge for getting ground bait all over my sofa. I'm going to spray it all over. Oh, yeah. I'd work
it
this
won't
one.
make any difference to this floor. See?
So what we thought we'd do,
work, did it?
Alex did a really good winter ground bait episode in season 5, and actually when I looked through the stats, because I'm a bit sad, a lot of people watched it. Stato, bit like what's it, a Soccer AM?
Yes, it's Statman, isn't it?
It's called something.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I can't remember.
Anyway, I was at work to watch Soccer AM anyway. Do you know what I mean? Not retired or work after Saturdays off. I'm at it hardcore, riddling casters and listening to everyone moan.
If I had the little violin rather than my ground bait whisk, I'll be playing it for you, mate. Yeah. So anyway, we thought it'd be really cool if Alex explained some summer ground baits to you guys, and we're looking at 3 options, and the options are
like a commercial mix, generic edge mix, a skimmer or a feeder mix, something that you'd use on the middle level, which obviously is quite appropriate for Fenland Fishing TV, and then a mix that I would use for the Broads. So yeah, check it out.
This will be good.
So normally we bang on about winter ground baits, and there's not too many in the winter that we choose. We go for dead inert mixes to try and catch bigger roach. Basically winter time we're trying to catch roach and a few skimmers, rudd that not really attracted to ground bait as such. Summertime, obviously, different can of worms, different kettle of fish, different styles of fishing. So there's lots to sort of go at, which is good for us. And I know you guys like to talk about ground bait. We get lots of questions in the shop about ground bait. Everyone has their favourites at the end of the day, but each ground bait does something slightly different. So first things first, we're going to talk about a mix. If I was going to maybe fish the Broads, because I know a lot of the people that watch and listen to the podcast fish the Broads, maybe like the Yare, the Thurn, the Bure. If you was going to anywhere with a bit of pace, bit of flow, and predominantly it's going to be skimmers and roach, so sort of a generic mix as such. The mix that we've talked about loads and loads is G5 and turbo. Not going to go too much about that, but we use that in the winter as well for roach. But you probably won't add as much water to your mix in the summer. You want active mixes. You don't want stodgy heavy mixes, unless the roach are feeding towards the back end of the summer, you know, September time when the roach come into play. But what I always add is a bag of Magic. Magic is probably one of the best skimmer ground baits on the market. It's quite sticky as well, so it will bind and go to the bottom. So if you're going on the Bure, the Thurn, those sort of venues, if you're going on the Trent as well, you'd probably go for a mix like that on the pole. Maybe a little bit wetter if you're going on the Trent, because obviously it's a bit faster. But that's sort of a generic river mix for in the summer. That one's pretty straightforward. Now we're going to go for a mix if we were fishing sort of the drains. So bearing in mind the drains are absolutely gin crystal clear in the summer. They're full of weed. You can't get a rig nice and clean to the bottom. So your mixes have to react to that. And in that I mean they have to be active, they have to be cloudy, they have to draw fish into your peg. So a mix that I would use for middle level or any of the drains like the Neen, Houndle, places like that would be again G5, which is sort of a brilliant base mix to go from. I'd have half a bag of sweet skimmer if I was going for predominantly skimmers. and then I'd add Census Lake. Now Lake is a wonderful ground bait all year round, but it's really active, just draws fish into your peg. So that is what I would use as a pole mix for those type of venues. And then a mix that I battered Andy on the other day, and he used the same one, so you know, obviously it was not down to my mix, it was down to ability, just saying, was my feeder mix, which is pretty much as yellow as you can come. I've experimented with feeder mixes, and I think bold is best for bream. You're trying to draw them into your peg, they're very inquisitive fish. You want them to come into a cloud, or you want them to sort of, they react to noise as well. So this mix for me is golden brown crumb, which is a new crumb we've got in the shop and been very, very popular. Really lovely colour, because a lot of the brown crumbs now are really expensive for a good quality one, or they're not even brown now, they're very pale and, well, pathetic, some of them, to be honest. But that's what we call golden crumb. We sell it in the shop. And then this mix here is, it doesn't say bream on it in any way, but it's called CARP Fine Mature. So I love this for bream. It's got bits of vital in, it's got all sorts in. I know on the continent they use this mix hell of a lot. So I normally have half a bag of CARP Fine Mature, half a bag of explosive bream. So this is really, really active. It's even got little tiny bits of like pasticino and stuff like that, but basically as soon as it hits the water, it goes down, creates a column, hits the bottom and starts to pop and fizz and just brings fish into your peg. And obviously the brown crumb just bulks it out, adds a bit of feed as well for when you do want to keep them on the bottom. So I'm going to mix that one up today, and then I'm just going to add some of this Litu, which is a bit like, it's a bit special, it just makes more of a cloud. What I do add to my mixes as well is either pasticino or these new feed bits. A lot of the summer you're fishing for bream and skimmers, so they're like visual things to pick out and sort of graze over. And probably didn't tell Andy I was using this either, but I was just adding a bit of that into my mix, just to give it that, I don't know, the fleck and the fish to hold in your swim. Lean, obviously lean is very good for either adding hardly any food content into your mix, but also for a cloud. This particular one is the Colmic one, which is pretty similar to the Vandeninde, but this one's a light damp lean. I prefer that one for the summer. It's more cloudy, so if I was going predominantly fishing for skimmers, you could go for like natural lake, sweet skimmer and some light damp lean, and that'll be cloudy enough but also got the stickiness to hold a few worms and casters and that sort of thing. So I'm going to mix my feeder mix that I battered Andy on, alright? So basically the mix is pretty simple. That is 2 pints brown crumb. I like to measure my ground bait, not that I'm OCD in any way, shape or form, but I just like to know what I put into my mix. So I know there's 2 pints in there because that's how many I put in there when I bag them up. So as you can see, it's a real nice golden brown crumb. It's not too fine, not too coarse, it's just perfect really. It's got a little scent to it as well. So that's that. And then explosive bream. Measure that out. So we'll get a little bit of a close-up of this one. You can see all the, little bits of pasticino in there. There's like, I don't know what sort of seeds it is, but it's really active and it smells amazing. It's really sweet. So 2 pints of that. And then the bit that's got a bit more food value is the CARP Fine Mature. So it's got bits of corn. It's just a brilliant mix, and it's got a nice sweet bitter smell about it as well. I just like it for bream. I don't know why. Flake maize I suppose in there. Again, 2 pints in there. That you can see it's got quite a few quite big particles, but it's quite active as well. That goes in there. So now just to get my drill. So while we're talking about drill, we'll talk about the lovely clean whisk. This is a Census jumbo whisk, is it? I think it's called a jumbo whisk. They work brilliantly because they're flat. They smaller as well. I don't know, it just gets more air into the mix, so I'm just going to give it a quick whiz. So if you can see there, you can see your little flecks of red there, a few bits of corn. You've got quite a few different particles there, which will hopefully pop and fizz and hold a few of them bream and skimmers into your peg. This mix works really well on places like the middle level, 20 foot, anywhere where there's not too much flow and you're trying to create a bit of a cloud, draw a few fish into your peg. Next thing is obviously water. So I'm going to put 2 pints of water in from the start. Don't want to go too mad, too quick, so just go slowly pour in. So I'm just going to let that stand for a little while there, and then add some more in. If we can have a look here, that see it's soft. We don't want, when I'm feeder fishing, I don't want too claggy mixes. You can always add more water, especially when you're using worms and things. You want it a little bit drier, so if you've got a bit of juice on your worms, it sort of takes all that in and doesn't affect what the mix is going to do when it leaves your feeder. You can see all the particles in there. It's a bit different to a winter mix. You know, you've got all sorts in there, something that's going to hold the fish and attract fish at the same time. So probably in that, I've still probably got another 1.5 pints of water. Obviously in the summer your mixes are going to dry out, so I always carry an atomizer on my box. Give it a bit of, you know, you can just fine tune your mixes in seconds. You know, if you want it slightly wetter or when it dries out, you can bring it back to life again. But I don't know if you can smell that, Andy, but can you smell that from there? It's really, see the bits of corn and quite bitter, but it's really sweet at the same time.
I could when we were fishing actually.
Yeah.
When I walked past, you had the nice ground bait.
Yeah, you had the same ground bait as me, mate.
Your peg smelt nicer than mine.
Well, it's obviously as me. Right, so we're going to add a bit more water now. So that's about bang on now. Just going to put that water back in there and just show you what I do now. So you could put that through a riddle. For me, it doesn't need to go through a riddle. It's nice and fluffy. I want the particles in there, so I don't want to be taking them out in the winter. You don't want the big particles overfeeding the fish. So what I'm going to do now is I normally have 2 bowls. I have this mix, and then I have a separate bowl where I add some litu. Basically the idea of that is to create an even bigger cloud. So I'll start with my standard ground bait, and then if I feel like I need more attraction, I'll add this. So I'm just going to get 2 pints of this. I need another bucket really, but what I'll do is I'll add some of this into this one, and then you can see the difference it makes. Right, so I'm going to add my litu in here, not too much. See, it changes the colour of the mix. Basically, it's changed the colour of my mix, but I'm just going to drop it in this bucket. Hopefully you'll be able to see the cloud that it does give off. You see that, Andy? See the clouds instantly straight away. and it's working. Obviously, as the ground bait releases, it's releasing the cloud as well. So as you can imagine, you can see all the particles popping off it. You move your feeder slightly. Just look at that, the traction off that. So if I do want a bit more attraction, I just add a little bit of Litu to my mix, and you've got an even more cloud. See how it's gone orange, look. So it's all right. So yeah, that's my feeder mix. Don't tell everyone. Give it a go. Obviously all the products, everything here you see is in the shop. What I will say is I normally, if I've got 2 pints of my dry mix like that, say obviously it'd be a bit wetter than that, I'll just add a few of my secret, just so there's enough. Something like that. So even if you're just feeding neat ground bait, no particles, you know, no casters, maggots, worms or whatever, you've always got something to hold the fish in your peg, and they just stand out on the bottom. You can imagine that on the bottom of the river with the little red bits, attracting more and more fish. So that's my feeder mix. Pretty straightforward. Commercial mix. Obviously there's loads of different ground baits for commercial carp fishing. A mix that a lot of the match anglers that fish rookery and do really well for fishing down the edge or feeding little balls is basically like a pure expander mix. I know a lot of anglers do use it in the winter, but in the summer it's fantastic. The more water you get into it, it's heavy, it sticks to the bottom, especially in them shallow edges. Venues like here at rookery, we've got quite deep edges and it still does work here. It's very simple and a bit alien to how you would normally mix ground bait. Normally you want nice fluffy ground bait. Well, basically the mix is Sonu Super Crush, obviously $9.99 bag, 2 kilo bag, and we're going to use 2 pints of ground bait. Takes a bit of time, so I always do this when you, or always advise do this when you get to your peg. So I don't know if you can see the super crushed expander there. That goes straight in the bucket, like so. All right, and then we've got our water bucket ready. Just going to pour 2 pints of water. So 2 pints of ground bait to 2 pints of water. Now, when this goes in, you're going to know, what has he done to my ground bait? So I'm just going to pour it in, like so. All right, so 2 and 2. And now I'm just going to mix it up. All right. See, it's already starting to like slop up. All right. So we're just going to get all that water into the mix. Now you might go, what has he just done there? Absolutely ruined the ground bait. So what we're going to do, for example, you've put your box on your peg, you've mixed your ground bait up, that's going to look like this consistency, like slop. All right. And you think, he's ruined it. We get set up, get your rigs out, come back in about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll show you the next stage. Right, so Blue Peter moment. 10 minutes has passed. We've set all the gear up. Obviously we've put 2 pints of your super crushed expander with 2 pints of water into the bucket, mixed it round. It looked like just a mess. So now this is what it looks like. So it looks a bit like Play-Doh. Probably could have a little bit of water, but it's not too bad. All right. As you can see, it's like lumpy and like a paste. But what we're going to do is we're going to add air to it. So you just want a normal riddle, like 4mm mesh riddle, and we're just going to put the whole lot on. The other thing is, ground bait is expensive nowadays, especially like, you know, super crushed about a tenner for 2 kilos. With this way, you're in control. 2 pints of ground bait, that is. There's a lot of ground bait there. Obviously, venues like here, we have limits and stuff, but we're gonna just push it through, all right? Takes a bit of time, so make sure you get set up at your peg and your rigs are all organised. Don't rush it, because you know you've got to put it through this riddle. That's the key thing. The reason why this mix works so well is because it's got so much water in it. It's heavy. It's a bit like what we do in the winter with our mix and our ground baits. We add a lot of water to make it heavy so it stays to the bottom. With this, you don't want it too light and fluffy, because when them big old fish come in the edges, they're wafting it up and it's going everywhere. This wants to waft up but go down to the bottom fairly quick. So that's 2 pints of ground bait gone through there. All right. So from the riddle. Rid of that one. And what you're left with now looks unbelievable. So from what looked like an absolute disaster, now is perfect. You can feed it loose if you want to if you're feeding loose ground bait in the shallower margins, or you can give it a couple of squeezes and it goes down in a ball, breaks down real nice and quickly, and you've got some nice feed there for, you could have maggots to it if you wanted to, or corn, or anything really. You could even wet it up as well. You know, you could add more water to it and feed it like a sloppy paste and try and nail the fish into that. But that, for me, is the perfect ground bait for edge fishing, where allowed, obviously. That's 2 pints there, so you haven't used 10 quid. You've only used 2 pints of that, and that is the perfect mix. Obviously, it'd be no good for putting around a method because it'll come off quite easy. But it's just a fantastic general mix down the edge. Making little balls, you know, you can make a nice tight little ball, goes down, breaks up with your fishing, like little bits of worm and things like that, just to try and home the fishing into your hook bait. And that's it really. Pretty simple commercial ground bait.
Well, that's it for episode 3. If you're very keen, you'll see that we've bastardised the bank stick rather than the swing tip.
Better than the ones you used in the challenge, isn't it?
He doesn't wait for me to move the mic. I feel like who was the blankety blank guy?
I'm not that old. Blankety blank.
Terry Wogan, that's it. He had a little one. Yeah. Right. So we've retired the swing tip, and next challenge is going to be.
Well, he's going to challenge me at tench fishing. So apparently he's fishing the lift method. I think he'll get bad like the swing tip.
Bit like Mr. Crabtree. So there's a lot going on because I'm all over the place, going to Holland and Italy fishing, obviously. But if we can get this organised, this should come out episode 4. If not episode 4, it'd definitely be episode 5. And I'm going to old school Alex on the lift method. Are you ready to get your arse whooped?
Yeah, righto. Anyway, I don't know if Andy's mentioned it, but he's fishing for England in the boat team this year.
Right, we're going to go. Thanks for watching. See you all soon.